Hi everyone and welcome back to CFE TV. This Sunday we've got Manchester United 4 unbeaten at Old Trafford. Can we do it again? Can we make it 5? Let's roll the titles. So as you can see from from the title pretty much, it's Manchester United Burnley. It's a big one actually. I mean, to be fair, I was saying beforehand it's a nothing game, but it's sort of a big one. It always is when we play Man United. Form goes out of the window for both sides, and it's a nice general healthy scrap. And today, to give us a Manchester United perspective, we have Ciaran from Red Devil Weekly. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Hopefully, I'll be still good on Sunday. But yeah, I'm good right now. I'm good right now. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on. So, first of all, why don't you give us a bit of a background to yourself, plug your page, and tell us about what you do in regards to Manchester United.
So my name is Ciaran, obviously, and I obviously run the Red Devil Weekly YouTube channel. You've probably seen loads of Man United fan channels out there. I'm pretty well the same, just a little bit smaller. But I do match previews, match reviews, transfer news and stuff. Obviously, when the transfer window's open, and just do content around Manchester United. Really, and I've been doing it for about 3 years now. So yeah, it's always fun to interact with fellow United fans and even non-United fans like we're doing today. It's always good to have that banter. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good stream tonight. I'm sure it's going to be good. And if you want to check it out, Red Dead Weekly on YouTube and on Twitter as well, if you fancy that. But yeah, cheers for having me and looking forward to it.
No, thanks very much. Like I just said, please go over, check out his channel. Even if you're not a Man United fan, just if you're into football, just some good football content. So heading over there. I mean, let's start with the game yesterday, the Granada game. How did you think it went?
Like most games we've seen after the international break, pretty kind of drab game overall. In terms of overall performance, we didn't look too good going forward, but we just managed to get over the line. I think that early Cavani goal, and also the fact we had those 2 away goals helped, I think, going into the game. Obviously, Granada didn't offer too much themselves, but I think that early goal from Cavani really kind of killed the tie dead. And once that goal went in, it just was a bit of a procession, really. I mean, it was one of those games where, as a neutral, you probably would have turned it off at half time. It wasn't the best game you'll ever see. We ended up winning 2-0 somehow. I mean, it was the same thing in Granada actually. I didn't think we deserved to win 2-0, but we kind of just got the job done. And in the end of the day, we're through to another semi-final, and that's all that matters. Especially in knockout football, the results all that matters. You don't really care how you get there. So I'm not kind of complaining or anything, but obviously, within the fan base, I think people would definitely like to see a better brand of football. But I think towards the back end of the season, you just have to get the results. So, in terms of that game, got the job done, but it wasn't exactly the best game of football you ever see.
Oh, well, it's like you say, it's good to see English sides obviously still battling it out. No matter what, if your team's not there, I think you always back the English side to go on and do well, even if you hate them, I suppose. But no, what did you think of the team lineup? Because obviously I was watching, the stream with Rich the day before, and I know you were saying about Van der Beek getting game time and things like that, maybe starting again the full 90. But what did you think? Because you even said that it's typical Ollie will probably go somewhat strong where he could actually go weak, and you hit the nail on the head with that comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I always say it's difficult to get in Ollie's head, but maybe it's starting to get a bit easier if I can predict that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's I was a bit. I mean, obviously we won the game, so I can't complain too much. But I was a bit frustrated to see that Van der Beek or Diallo as well, the young centre forward, didn't have any sort of time, because I just thought that yes, obviously there's still a bit of jeopardy there. We could potentially mess it up and go out, but realistically, we should have that game won. And I just felt like some people are treating. I feel like Ollie sometimes treats Van der Beek as if he's really not good enough and he's just on the bench to fill up the numbers. But this is a guy that came from an Ajax team who was one of the major parts of that team that got to the Champions League semi-final and arguably should have got to the final as well. But I just feel like he could have got a lot more game time. And as you probably saw, I said on the Richie stream that if he doesn't get game time in this game, I just don't know where his next opportunity will come. So, in terms of the whole team lineup, as you said, it was quite strong from the start. In some ways, you could argue his decision was vindicated because we got the result. But I think even if we'd actually chopped and changed a little bit ahead of this Premier League game, then I think we still would have got the job done and it still would have been as effective, because I think we've got much better depth than we did last season. So, I was a bit frustrated with the team lineup. I mean, I can kind of understand where he's coming from. I know he doesn't want any sort of embarrassing slip-ups, but at the same time, I think we do have some quality off the bench, and it's pretty well first-team quality. I know Van der Beek doesn't start in the first team often, but I generally think he's got that first-team quality. So, it was a little bit frustrating, but I guess at the same time, we got the result, and that's all that matters to me, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I look at Van der Beek. I mean, when you signed him, I thought, oh, brilliant. Is he going to be there to replace Fred? But then I sort of look at the fact of him and Pogba are very sort of similar in the way they play. So I can understand it'd be a similar situation, to what we had, for England when it was, the Lampard-Gerrard situation, wasn't it? Having them together. So I guess you've kind of got that catch-22 situation. Thoughts on the season so far, though? Obviously, looking at the table, sat second. I mean, it's been a good season for you guys. It's you can't look at it and say not being in the top four isn't. Being in the top four isn't. So, what's your thoughts?
To be fair, the United fan base, as you can imagine, is pretty split on this. I think there's some people saying that even though our league position's good, that's kind of a product of the fact that we haven't been great that other teams haven't been great this season, sorry. So the likes of Chelsea haven't been brilliant. Obviously, they brought Tuchel in, they're doing all right now. And, not like Liverpool as well, not really doing that well. So some United fans say the reason we're up there and we're in second is because, other teams haven't been doing that well, which I can kind of see. But actually, for me, I think we have made progress under Solskjaer. I think it's been a fairly decent season. I think especially where we were at the start of the season, where we just got hammered 6-1 at home to Spurs. If you told me we'd be second, 7 points clear in second, I'd be ripping your arm off. So I think it's been a decent season. Obviously, we'd love to cap it off with the Europa League, and I think we do need to look at winning trophies. Because obviously that's where United's built off. But I agree with you. I think our season's been pretty decent, in the top four comfortably, and hopefully, barring a ridiculous collapse, we'll be in the top four at the end of the season. But I think it's been a decent season. I think we've seen the emergence of some players. I think the improvement of our defence as well. I think defensively we've been much stronger than we were last season. Obviously, Dean Henderson coming in as well. He's done brilliantly. So there's a lot of good things to take out of this season, and obviously a trophy would be the icing on the cake. But I think we've had a fairly decent season. I think I'll be able to fully answer the question at the end of the season if we win that Europa League. But I think we're on course to do that, and obviously if we do that, it'll cap off a very, very decent season. But I think it kind of divides the United fan base a little bit. I think there's some people that say that we should be striving for a lot more. We should be going for the top of the Premier League. And I mean, I agree as a United fan, but you have to sometimes take your hat off to the likes of Man City and say they're having a ridiculous season. I mean, I think at one point they had won 21 straight games in all competitions. So they've been having a brilliant season. So it's difficult, but I think we have made progression, and progression for me is the biggest thing. So I'm happy with the season so far, but hopefully we can put the icing on the cake with that Europa League.
Oh, fingers crossed. I mean, there's a lot, like you say, it's divided opinion. So, I'm guessing you're an Ollie in or an Ollie out. I'm guessing you're an Ollie in. But see, I thought it was a bit of a strange one when Ollie came in. I understand why, sentimental reasons. The same with Lampard to Chelsea, and in some sort of funny way, Arteta to Arsenal. But I mean, this is a manager that you look at, in his sort of CV and think, right, he didn't do really much with Cardiff. Yes, okay, he's been successful abroad, but then I suppose it depends on that type of man management. I mean, you go back to the Fergie days. He's since he came in, things changed behind the scenes as well. That he had Fergie to sort of lean on, and then he's brought in, I think, was it Nicky Butt and a few other former players, and I think Nicky Butt's gone again now, hasn't he? I think he's
he has, yeah.
So you've kind of sorted it out in a backroom sort of sense, and obviously you've got one of our former players as well as one of your own, in Mickey Phelan as assistant. So yeah, I think you're on course for something, and fingers crossed for you that you do get the Europa League. What's your memories then of some of the previous games between us? I mean, there've been some really ridiculous scorelines where I think for the past 3 years we've scored 2, but not managed to see it out at all. It's going to make for an interesting one.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, in terms of recent memories, obviously the 3 games you mentioned at Old Trafford, we conceded 2 in those games, and I think in all 3 of those games, really, apart from the last one, we ended up losing 2-0. That was a pretty dark day. I think that was one of the days where a lot of United fans turned on Ollie. Actually, that 2-0 defeat. I think those 3 games really. I remember I was one at Christmas time, I think, where Jesse Lingard scored twice in the end to kind of turn it round. So I mean, we've had some dramatic games, some very dramatic games at Old Trafford. But I mean, I think on most of my good memories, I guess, against you guys is probably at Turf Moor, where we've we won most recently. So I mean, Old Trafford, yeah, it's always a difficult game. It's always one of those ones where there's definite opportunity for a banana skin, but yeah, I can't say I've really had too many good memories watching United play Burnley at Old Trafford, I guess, which is probably a compliment to you guys, really. But yeah, I'm obviously hoping to put that right. But it's always a dramatic game, really, and it's always a game where it's never just a formality. It's never just a kind of easy win for either side, really. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the challenge, really. I'm hope our defence are up for the challenge, of course, but. Yeah, it should be a good one, and yeah, in terms of past memories at Old Trafford, not the best, but hopefully we can put that right.
No, well, I was going to say fingers crossed, but that would have been a bit, a bit wrong of me to do. No, for me personally, mostly it's some of the goals that have been scored there. Like you say, the 2-0 win that we had. Rodriguez just from nowhere, just don't know where he plucked that one out from. And the first one with Chris Wood, it was just an all round. I unfortunately didn't manage to go that day. But I wish I had, because it's one of those where even I've been reading in the pre-match that players have been coming out saying it's one of those memories that will stay with them, because you don't expect to go to Old Trafford and come away with a 2-0 win. I'm just looking at it on the basis of there's no fans there. There's a lot of red seats, and those players don't like playing in front of them red seats. So I'm hoping we can get something off the back of that. Obviously, I've got to speak about the 1-0 win at Turf Moor. I mean, Robbie Blake screamer past Ben Foster. Where was Ben Foster's GoPro at that time? That's well unfair. Well unfair. I'd love to have seen him effing and jeffing at the back of that. But yeah, they've been really good games, tasty affairs, never dull, end to end. I mean, the last fixture at Turf Moor, I mean, Pogba's goal was just, it worked. Stunning finish, edge of the box, beautiful weighted pass by Rashford, to be fair. Obviously, I think it took a nick off Lawton's leg and somehow deceived Port between the legs. But yeah, in that game again was a very open game. It was scrappy. What were it? Something like the dying minutes, weren't it? Game when
it was
came about.
Yeah.
So it were. I don't know. I'd take a 1-0 again, but we're on. We're on the road. So fingers. We've been playing a lot better, a bit more pressing, and I've also seen from the stats that I think you're one of the worst teams to in the first 45 minutes of games at the moment.
Yep, we're second half FC, 100%.
Yeah, so we technically should try and get on that front foot. 3-1 at Sky Bet, not sponsored, but I've just remembered that's my first bet done. But yeah, again, like you say, you're on a 4-game unbeaten streak. It's and that's obviously in all accounts. I mean, take us back to the Tottenham game. That must have been one that you were a bit, eerie of, just due to the past result earlier on in the season.
Yeah, I think obviously that it was one of those games again where in the first half we were really, really poor. And obviously Spurs got the goal, and obviously we didn't get our goal, but we won't speak about that. It was just one of those games where we turned it around in the second half. And obviously, as you talked about, I think that 6-1 was definitely in the players' minds. I think they were very kind of they wanted revenge. I mean, that second half, the way we played, I can't think that they didn't have that in their mind. I just feel like the way we played, how clinical we were, and I think again it's one of those things as a United fan where it's frustrating, where we know that we can play the way we did in that second half, but we never start that way, and it's really it's just frustrating to see, because you just think, imagine how good we'd be if we played full 90 minutes like that. And also we found this season that we can come back from behind quite a few times. I think we've won the most amount of points this season coming from behind than any other side, but there'll be times where a team will prey on our weakness in the first 45 minutes so much they just play us out of the game. They might be 2 or 3-0 up, and then it's much more difficult to come back from that. And sometimes you don't make the comeback, because making comebacks, there's a lot of luck involved. So for example, the Sheffield United game, we had a shocking first 45 minutes. We got the equaliser, but in the end we didn't have the the luck, or even just we just after the equaliser we didn't really continue that momentum on, and that can happen in a game. So you can get punished for playing that sort of way, and I think that's the one criticism I would have of our team under Solskjaer, is that, as you pointed out, our record in the first 45 minutes is terrible. And obviously, we usually make up for it. But for example, if on Sunday we have the similar situation where Jay Rodriguez is rocketing them in from the edge of the box, and you're 2-0 up at half time, it's going to be a scrap to get back into that game. So I think if we need to just play from the start. But I think that Spurs game, there's a lot of positives, but I think the one negative I'd have to say is again that kind of lack of impetus in the 45 minutes and having to kind of recover that. But yeah, if we play well from the front or from the off, I think we'll be fine. But it does get a bit draining, kind of having to come from behind all the time. But I guess if we get the result, it doesn't matter. But I think that's the one takeaway I'd take from that Spurs game. But yeah, I think the fact we won the game, and the fact we had that second half performance is obviously brilliant going into the game, because we obviously have that momentum to take into the next few games. But obviously you can easily get punished badly if you don't start well, and I hope that doesn't happen on Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, it's what do you think to, obviously Rashford obviously were second half sub, wasn't he? So oh no, he was an unused sub, sorry, in the game. Do you think he'll get much game time against Burnley on Sunday? I mean, he's one that I kind of fear on his day. He's did he get sent off in the last game? Or at the game before? He's notorious for sort of losing his head against Burnley, to be fair. Yeah,
I know which one you mean. I remember there was a game at Turf Moor. I think Jose Mourinho might have still been there. Yeah, he got sent off, I think, for reacting. And I think, I hope he's learned from that anyway. But yeah, he does seem to kind of... he does that passion about him. He does have a little bit of a hot head about him. But, I mean, I was watching, actually, before we went live, the Solskjaer press conference, and he was asked about Rashford, and he didn't play against Granada, which is obviously good, because he's basically been playing injured, to be honest. He hasn't been right. He hasn't even been training before games, but Solskjaer thinks he's so valuable that he needs to be starting. And to be fair, against Granada in the first leg, he got one of important goals that ultimately made it easy for us in the second leg. But I think Solskjaer said he'd be hopeful for him that he'd play, but obviously by the way he said it, I think he kind of knows that Rashford won't be playing a major part in the game. I mean, I'd be shocked if he starts. I mean, he might come off the bench because he was an unused sub against Granada, and apparently he put his hand up himself to kind of be in that squad and if needs be, come on. So it might be the same sort of scenario again. But it's all about whether he'll be able to play and not make that injury any worse. But I mean, he'll want to play, but it's a same sort of situation where you've got the Euros coming up, you've got to think about that. So I think it'll be a tough decision for Solskjaer because, I mean, on Rashford's day, I agree with you, he's very, very good. And in these sort of games, he has been good historically. I think he scored against you last time we were at Turf Moor. The time before last. But he's a very good player on his day. And he's put up good numbers this season. He's been a little bit inconsistent, but he has put up good numbers this season. But yeah, I think in terms of whether he'll play, I doubt he'll start. He could come off the bench if we are really struggling. But I think with that injury, and I think most United fans would probably not want him to start either because they know he is injured. And even though he's a great player to have, realistically, is he kind of worth having the? Or is it worth playing a guy who's like only 50%? I mean, it's a difficult choice, but obviously Solskjaer seemingly kind of feels that way. So I don't think he'll start, but he might come off the bench if he feels fit enough.
No, I want to touch on Diallo as well. I mean, he's a good little player that's coming through, isn't he? Not coming through. I mean, where did you sign him from?
Atalanta, I think it was. Yeah,
was
Atalanta.
It? Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was for a decent amount of money actually. I think it was for, in the end, probably close to about 30 million, maybe even a bit more than that. They obviously saw a lot of potential in him, but yeah, I mean, he's looked decent. I mean, he scored a goal at AC Milan at Old Trafford. I mean, as I said before, I don't think he's had enough game time. I feel like he could have got a few more minutes, obviously in the second leg against Granada, but obviously Ollie's decision. But I mean, I'm not sure whether he's going to feature in this game. Obviously, with Martial being out for the rest of the season, that's given a little bit more opportunity potentially for him because we've got less options up there. But again, in the Premier League, Solskjaer doesn't seem to be he seems to be a bit more cautious. He's just generally cautious, really, and that's why we don't see Diallo too much. But I would like to see Diallo a bit more, especially as we come towards the end of the season. And I'm sure he will get his opportunities. But yeah, he's a very good player. He's got the pace, really good on the ball as well, really good, technical ability, really good dribbling, and his finishing. I mean, against AC Milan, he did like a backwards header, like Chicharito style thing. I mean, I didn't see it coming, but obviously he has that innovative finish in him. But yeah, he's still very young, still only 19 years old or something, maybe even 18. Still very, very young. So he's got a long future ahead of him, and we just got to make sure we blood him in slowly. I don't want to, put too much pressure on him and kind of throw him into the deep end. But he is a real talent, and potentially off the bench if we need him. He could provide a lot for us.
No, it's like you said then, that not sticking him in at the deep end. I mean, it's been done with a lot of players at a lot of different clubs. I mean, if you look back at yourselves, you probably chucked in Federico Macheda in right at the deep end. I mean, there's a few players that now you look at where their careers went after having the odd couple of games, and it's sort of the career's not stagnated as such, but they've started to dwindle after that. I mean, for me, I look back at Chris Eagles, one that played for us both. He had the few odd games. For us, I thought, wow, we've got this attacking flair player that's going to, create opportunities from nowhere. And then he's ended up nowhere. I mean, after us, I think he went to Bolton with Owen Coyle, and then he sort of just, I don't know, it's like his legs went to jelly or something. Too much shaving of his legs or something stupid like that, probably. They were proper little pretty boy, weren't they, to be fair?
Yeah. He scored a few goals for United, but I know what you mean.
He's like that. I want to shadow Ronaldo, so to speak, weren't he?
Exactly, yeah.
So, what would your predicted lineup be for Sunday then?
Well, I think we'll see very similar lineup to what we saw against Spurs. Ollie doesn't like to change it too much. He's quite cautious like that. I think we'll see Dean Henderson come back in goal. Obviously, De Gea's played the 2 Europa League games against Granada, but I think going off what he picked against Spurs, I feel like he will probably put Henderson back in again for the Premier League games. So I reckon we'll see Henderson in goal. I think we'll see Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof and Luke Shaw. Obviously Luke Shaw didn't play against Granada as well, so he was rested. Maguire was actually suspended, so we've got a few players coming off a week's rest as well, which is, I guess, a good thing, because they play pretty well every week of the season, so it's good to think of a little bit of a rest. And then in midfield, I think we'll play a bit of a 4-2-3-1. I'm not sure whether he will go with McTominay and Fred. He does seem to like to go with them as in the pivot. And, I mean, defensively, obviously it's good because you've got two holding midfielders. But I think a lot of United fans do have a bit of a moan when we're at home against a side that's maybe in the bottom half of the table, where we'd be expected to kind of be on the front foot, and instead we're still trying to counter-attack. And I think there's some United fans who kind of find that frustrating, and it is a little bit frustrating, especially when in the first 45 minutes we kind of play a bit pedestrian. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to that. So I'm going to predict that, actually. I'm going to say he's going to go McTominay and Fred, which then leaves Fernandes as the kind of central attacking midfield player, I guess, in that scenario. And then I don't think he's starting Rashford. I think he'll just be too injured. So I think he'll go with Cavani up front, who's actually in very decent form. I think we'll see Mason Greenwood as well. He's not been too bad. I think against Granada he didn't have his best game, but in terms of his overall form, he's been pretty decent. And then we could see Paul Pogba on the left-hand side, though we used to see Paul Pogba on the left against top six opposition. But I don't know. I mean, as I said, it's difficult to predict Ollie and read his mind. So he could easily go with Pogba on that left-hand side, but he could easily, or just as easily go with Green on that left-hand side, and then even start Daniel James on that right-hand side. So it's difficult to predict. If I had to have a swing at it now, I think he would like to see Pogba in the team, because Pogba's playing very good football right now. So I think we'll see Paul Pogba on that left-hand side, Cavani up front, and then I think we'll see Mason Greenwood on that right-hand side. So if I had to predict, that's probably what we go with, but I think it'll be quite fluid as well. I think we'll see potentially Pogba interchange with the likes of Fernandes. They like to kind of move between the different positions. So yeah, I think that's probably what it'll go with, but again, I could be completely wrong.
It's I just want to get your thoughts on Jesse Lingard. See, I was going to pull it in before I did the predicted lineup, but a lot of Burnley fans were saying, why would we want, don't get Lingard, don't get him, why, he's past it, he's way past it. To be fair, if you watched him, in red and white for yourselves, you kind of thought, right, yeah, he's too busy trying to play the Instagram boy, sort of TikTok famous and all that stuff. But, I mean, the question really I'm asking is, on his day, on form, like he's currently playing for West Ham, would you still have him? Would you have him back at United in the form he is?
I mean, yeah, it's the question that I've kind of been asking myself every time he scores 2 goals in a game, which he seems to do every game now. But he's playing very, very well. He's playing, I mean, all United fans that I've seen, at least on social media, we're just so happy for him, because we knew that he was going through a dark time, not only on the pitch, but kind of in his private life and stuff. So to see him playing regular football and seeing him do so well, it's obviously very, very good to see. I think for me, from my point of view, I think that realistically, as you pointed out, at United it wasn't really working out, and I just think he just suits the West Ham style of play, and I think he's really enjoying it there. For his career and for his sake, I just don't think it'd be right for him to come back. I mean, it'd be great to have Jesse Lingard in the form he is right now, but then can you guarantee that start next season, will he still be in that sort of form? And also with the players we've got, especially if we have Van der Beek and Pogba. I mean, I'm not sure if we're going to keep Pogba with what his agent is saying, but obviously that's going to be sorted out. But I just think with the options we've got already, I'm not sure how much game time Lingard would get, and then we'd be back in the same position where, Lingard's not really getting any game time, and then he doesn't really have any sort of games to get any sort of rhythm, because I think he's really benefiting from playing week in, week out. I mean, if he gets West Ham, Champions League, I think West Ham will be really eager to keep him.
100%. And
also, yeah, go on.
Oh, it's 100%, and same with Declan Rice, a player that's obviously been linked with you. And things like that, there's, I think papers are saying stuff like that he's asking, Maguire and a few others, like, what's it like? What's it like? Giving him a bit of a nudge, but it's all paper talk. We don't know the ins and outs. It could be, it could not be. Obviously, Declan Rice is a player that, I mean, you'd have him at any club. Obviously, he's still young and up and coming. But again, it's like you say with Jesse Lingard. Both of them aren't going to want to, Declan Rice specifically, with being a West Ham boy, ain't going to want to leave when they've got guaranteed Champions League football, if that's what they get at the end of the season. Thoughts? Well, I mean, transfers. Ollie, compared to a few managers, has had a bit to spend, really, hasn't he?
Yeah.
There was the whole debacle with Sancho. Is he coming? Is he staying? Basically managers saying, "Oh yeah, it's this happening and that's happening," and we didn't say that. We did say that. Obviously, I think eventually Sancho probably will end up at United. Next season, I don't know. Potentially, I suppose depends if Ed Woodward wants to stick his hands in his pocket. But yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on transfers? I mean, there's a lot of names going around. Holland, and Holland and Sancho, just the two names there that could literally change, the fortunes of Man United from going second or top four to being in that top two consecutively.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely names out there that just seem too good to be true. I mean, Haaland for me is he's just ridiculous talent at the age he is, and even though I don't think number 9s are major priority, I think if you bring him in, to any team, as you said, they'd have him in a heartbeat. I mean, he's just a quality striker. Jadon Sancho as well. It was just a mess last summer, an absolute mess. And I mean, even though we're still having a decent season for Dortmund, not the same sort of season he was having last season, but I think it still cost us at least kind of 90, 100 million pounds to bring him in. So I mean, it's all about what people prioritise, and I think a lot of United fans prioritise the CDM role, and obviously that would entail bringing a certain Declan Rice to Old Trafford, and I would love to see it, but again, obviously you've got the fact that, as you rightly pointed out, if they get Champions League football, there's no way he'll want to leave. I mean, a season in the Champions League with West Ham is just a bit of a dream, especially from someone who's come through the academy. So, yeah, I think if they get Champions League football, I think that deal will be very difficult to get done. But I think Declan Rice is what most United fans are looking at really as the number one priority. But yeah, Sancho, I think, would be brilliant as well. Even though, as I said, he hasn't had the best of seasons, I still think he'd be a really good addition. And I still think we do need a number 9. I think, obviously, Haaland would be brilliant. I just don't see Haaland coming. I just feel like he's destined to go to a Man City or even like a Real Madrid, that sort of side. I don't know. I mean, obviously his dad used to play for Man City, and I think Roy Keane ended his career with that tackle, I believe, which wasn't brilliant. I don't think his dad has the best relationship with United, so I'm not sure whether that's going to affect it. But in the end of the day, I think he'd be a brilliant signing, but I just don't see it happening. Obviously, his agent Mina Raiola as well. We've had him at the club before, and it's not great reviews. Let's just say that, not great reviews of his clients. But in the end of the day, a CDM for me and for quite a few United fans is a priority. It'd be interesting to see whether whether Solskjaer sees it that way. Obviously, he gets the final say. So, but I mean, as I was going to talk to someone else said, I mean, you're absolutely right. Solskjaer's had a lot of money. I think he spent over 300 million. I mean, 80 million on Maguire. And I think the one thing that frustrates as well is the fact that some players that he's brought in that don't really get too much game time, and the biggest one being Van der Beek. I mean, we brought Van der Beek in. Some are thinking that the technical director at Ajax, Edwin van der Sar, did us a favour there. He was off to Madrid, just shoved him on a plane and said, "You're going to Manchester," and Ollie didn't want him. But I mean, I have heard now, actually, I didn't actually know, but Ollie does get the final sign-off of every transfer, so I can't really say that he's not his player anymore. But yeah, it's a strange one, really, because he has spent money, and there's some players that have done well, but there's other players which you kind of feel like should get a bit more game time, especially with the amount of money they're on. But I think if you look at the team and you look at our lineup, there's still some players in there that he didn't sign, so I think he'll be wanting to get a full team of his players, but I think he has a decent amount of money, so that's why I think the expectations have gone up for Solskjaer. I think in his first season, we were kind of thinking, just get through with squad. But now he's actually had that money to spend. I think that's why people's expectations are a lot higher, and I think that's why as well some people aren't too happy with this season, even though we're in second. But I mean, if we win a trophy, I don't think that'll be a problem. But yeah, in terms of transfers, a lot of names will be flying about, I'm sure, this summer. I'm looking forward to that, the transfer carousel. But yeah, well, hopefully, if we can bring in 2 or 3, decent names, especially in this current climate, then I think people will be happy with that. And also outgoings as well have to be key. We have to get rid of the right personnel. So yeah, I think we just need to have a decent transfer window, because I think we've got a decent squad. If we can build on what we've got this season and really kind of invest in it, we could really have a crack at that title next season.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I think, well, I don't know. That sort of leads on to another question. Is Ollie the man to take them to a title? I suppose. I mean, in terms of investment, as we were saying, and the names that's being branded about, if it was a case of that, yes, those players were in, Lingard went out, a few others, Phil Jones probably won't play for United again. It's sort of, I don't know. I mean, can Ollie take you? I mean, he's got you to second, so I suppose you'd be top if Man City didn't have their unbelievable run of games. So, can he? Probably. But could he maintain it over the course of a full season? Is it? I suppose that's your answer to your question, really. I think. But yeah, go on.
I think yeah. No, I was just going to say to kind of answer that. I think Solskjaer, obviously, as you mentioned at the start, his pedigree is pretty slim, really. I mean, he got Cardiff relegated. Obviously, he took over late on that job, so how much of that you can really blame on him? But he doesn't have that big a pedigree. I think he won the title in Norway with Molde or something like that. But yeah, I think that's the one thing that does maybe worry United fans going forward. It's, as you said, he's doing all right now, and I think the players are responding really well to him. I think he's a pretty decent manager, but in terms of actually kind of over the course of the next 2 or 3 seasons, whether we're going to get that consistent level, I think with decent players, with decent investment, I think when you've got the sort of squad that we've got right now, if you build on that, we will have the personnel to go for it. And I think he does have some tactics, contrary to what some people say. He does have a little bit of tactics, but I think the problem comes obviously when we bring in these players and we do, inevitably have a bad patch of form. That's when obviously the question marks are going to come out, because when it's all rosy and everything's going well, we're on a good run of form, it's easy to kind of jump to conclusions and say, yeah, he's definitely the right guy. And I'm backing him 100% right now, because we're doing very, very well. But I think the long term is difficult to see, and I think that's why there's some United fans out there who kind of go, maybe we should, at the end of this season, we say Ollie's brought us to a certain point, he's done very, very well, then bring in the kind of manager with the pedigree, and then we see where we can go from there, give him a bit of money to spend. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to stick with Ollie, and I think the players respond really well to him. But it will be very interesting to see whether he can bring a title. As of right now, especially with the fact we're very bad in terms of under pressure, we bottled quite a few semi-finals, I just don't see us being able to have that consistency throughout the whole season. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm proved wrong. So as of right now, I'd probably say he's not the guy that's going to bring us a title. But I do believe he can prove me wrong on that one.
That's interesting. That's I mean, I think I went on TalkSport at Boxing Day. I got roped in last minute. I was literally about to sit down and eat my meal. They said, "Can you come on and just do this sort of thing with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton?" So I said, "Yeah, not a problem." So they asked me a question: do you think Dash has taken Burnley as far as he can in terms of the Europa triumph that we sort of had getting into that position? And part of me sort of said yes, and Chris Sutton went, "Ooh." Now it's again, like you just said with Ollie, it's a bit of a tough one. I only said yes on the basis of, at the time, we had just got a new chairman in, so I don't know where it was going to go. You see these people that come in from different managers, different clubs, or different backgrounds, and they can ruin your club or they can make your club. You don't know how it's going to go. It's quite raw. Our past few transfer windows haven't been the best, with probably spent more on a pint than we have in the transfer window. It's that bad. We did at the beginning of this year. We signed a third choice goalkeeper, and obviously Dale Stevens from Brighton for $1 million. A player that we wanted 4 years ago. 4 years ago, and you sign him when he's at arse end of his career, not getting game time at Brighton. It's just it's madness, absolute madness. So I think in terms of, it's like you say, I think Burnley need to stretch the budget a little bit now. We can't keep working on the shoestring budget. Do we still sort of stick to that same mentality of getting players in from the leagues below and trying to nurture them? I mean, yeah, you can do, but it's getting difficult year by year. I mean, you could look at Arvin Toney at Peterborough and say that he's been banging goals in for fun. But then you go to Peterborough and say, oh, this is a player that 2 seasons ago in that form would have cost you what, $1 million? And now you're looking at, all right, well, we want five to begin with before we even start talking. And then there's all the add-ons. It's sort of a catch-22 for us, because we've always offered like the price of a Fredo. Although, to be fair, but we've offered the price of a Fredo in the 90s, not a price of a Fredo now where the bugger's got a mortgage. We are awful with every single offer of ours in the market is undisclosed. Yeah, there's a reason why it's undisclosed, because you've offered next to nothing. So fingers crossed, we see some investment as well as stay up. Fingers crossed. I think we're only probably a win away, maybe. Looking at it now from points, I think West Brom's the team that scares us the most on the Big Sam. His record of keeping teams up is probably one of the best for managers in the Premier League. So that's the one that we're worried about. For Sheffield United, it's too little, too late. But I do think we will stay up. I think in the run of games that we've got, like you say, you don't have to win a game, but three draws could make it. 36 to 38 points for me is going to be sort of around the cut-off point for staying up this season. Because it's strange to talk about this, really, because obviously we're total polar opposite ends of the table. You're up there in second. We got there with nosebleed. It's sort of, it'd be madness. I mean, we'd be like Southampton. We'd have T-shirts out saying "Stop the count" and all that crap. So, I mean, regarding Sunday, who should Burnley look out for? Who's the key man, the danger man, really, that could really hurt Burnley? And I think I know who you're going to say. Who's your pick?
Well, the obvious one's Bruno Fernandes. He's someone who, when he's on form, he can dictate the tempo. But I mean, the one thing I would say is that recently he hasn't actually been on the greatest form. I mean, he's scored a few penalties and he's still kind of kept up his goals and assists. But actually, in terms of his overall performance, he's been a bit wasteful. And I mean, I can't complain about how he's been at United overall. I mean, he practically dragged us to third place. And he's been brilliant, but I think recently he's actually been off form. I think for that reason, I probably wouldn't say him, although obviously he can be a big threat. I would say someone like, I think on form, Cavani's got to be up there as well. Someone who, right now just seems to be finishing every chance he gets. So he's in very, very good form. And I think as well, Mason Greenwood, he's someone who, even though he didn't have the better games against Granada, he right foot, left foot, he can be just electric on his day. And he's someone who, again, when he gets the opportunity, he's one of the best finishers at the club. I think Solskjaer said he was the most natural finisher he's ever seen. So again, I think in terms of on form, he's got to be up there. But to pick one, it's difficult. I'd probably go with on form Edison Cavani, or just on form. I'd back him to score on Sunday, I reckon, if he does start. But yeah, there's a few in there. But there's also a few, I guess you could say, that you could definitely target, I reckon. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, my pick would be Edison Cavani.
No, I don't blame you at the moment. I mean, we press. We've started pressing in games. We've started focusing more on our attacking threat, which, to be fair, has made us leak a bit more at the back. And I think you could see in our last two results, the Southampton game was, just ridiculous. Surrendering a 2-0 lead on the road. When it were 2-2 at half-time, it was almost destined to be Southampton's. I mean, you don't have to be a fly in the wall to realise that they'd have just said, look, you've got to this point now. You've got 45 minutes to finish it off.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was 2-0 at half-time, it would have probably been a bit of a different task. But for us to lose that and then go into that Newcastle game, which was huge for where both teams are, it was almost like it was a 6 points. It was a must-win. And obviously Newcastle have done the double over us now this year. But again, our own slip-ups. We've gone up and scored first and then conceded again. It's just been that sort of season. We started poorly and then we had a bit of a good run, and now we're sort of being able to attack because we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net at one point. And now, our defence, which is usually the rock, it's usually solid at the back. So yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. Cavani's got to be the threat. We've got obviously a few injuries out, which could be in benefit for you actually on Sunday. Pope's injury. Pope's still got a bit of a knock from the Southampton game, so it's looking like maybe Peacock Farrell will be in goal, or it's a sort of 50-50 until match days with Pope. And McNeil may be out as well. So two big hitters really for us, who's took a knock in training on Wednesday. So, I mean, even when you just say Pope and McNeil, you've sort of kind of lost a bit of a core spine. For us, particularly, no Barnes, no Brady, obviously a former Red. Kevin Long, to be fair, I mean, he's probably just been warming our bench for years anyway. So, I don't know. I wasn't confident in that game against Newcastle, and then obviously the way we played. Like I say, after the Southampton game, we should have gone into that Newcastle game with our tails up, heads up, fighting tooth and nail, and we didn't. We should have been right. Let's make amends, and I just didn't. So, but it's like you say, like we've said off camera, it's Man United Burnley. It's a different kettle of fish, completely different. I mean, can you remember some of the players that have played for both clubs?
Well, I mean, obviously you mentioned that. I think McNeil was obviously in the United Academy.
14-year-old.
Yeah. He's a player. I mean, as I say, in some ways, when I didn't even know he was out injured actually, but obviously, that's a big bonus for us because I think he's a very good player, McNeil. He's someone who's definitely got a bright future ahead of him. Even though he's not as young as he was, but he's still got a long time in the game. Apart from that, I mean, it's. I think there's a lot of players that have come from United's academy, have gone.
Yeah, most of the players that have played for both have been, like you say, it's been youth players more than anything. Phil Bardsley, I think we took him on loan originally when he was a youth player.
Good shout.
Took him on loan. Obviously, he's still now with us. Obviously, in his later years, Brady were a youth player. Luke Chadwick. Andy Cole, Chris Eagles, Michael Keane.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Lee Roach, Richard Eckersley, David Jones. I mean, the one that I liked that played for both were Eric Jemba. What?
So good they named him twice.
Yes, exactly. He was. I just remember him trying to do over a kick once in the middle of the park, and I don't even think he had connected with it, but he just got up and he was giggling and laughing and just proper giving it all. It was just, it was like the court jester of the team, but he were funny. Yeah. Andy Cole as well.
That's Cole, a big one, yeah.
Obviously, he played for us latter end of his career. Funnily enough, that was the same day that we put a certain pill in our tutor's drink that day.
All right, yeah.
I said to my tutor at the time, I said, can I go to the bogs? And he said, yeah. So I've left, I've walked out, and as I've walked out, there's just this bloke walking down the corridor with a shirt in his hand. And I kind of looked up and I'm like, that face looks familiar. So I kind of went, did what I had to do at the bog. And as I came out, he got talking to somebody and then he started walking towards me and I nearly bumped into him because I had my head down messaging my mate saying, I think I've just seen Andy Cole. So he sort of, as he brushes past me, looks over and sees my phone and goes, yeah, it's me. And I just said, oh, hi Andy, like I knew him sort of like first, like a little kid. I'm like, hi Andy. But and then I just went back into the lesson and they're all like, what you walking in like Billy Big Bollocks for? And I went, oh, just seen Andy Cole. Andy Cole's at Burnley. He's got a Burnley top with Cole written on the back. I think he's signing. I mean, obviously at the time he was at Sunderland. He was latter stages of his career. But he did bag us an hat-trick at QPR once, so I can't fault it.
Not bad.
Can't fault it. He didn't do too bad with us. So what's your score prediction? What's your score prediction for tomorrow? Tomorrow? What am I on about? That's me getting a bit excited. I'm so used to these Saturday kickoffs. Should realise what Sky and BT are like for switching it round and being tits, ruining your weekend.
Yeah. I mean, we've gotten used to Sunday now being the Europa League, but hopefully not for long. But yeah, I mean, for my score prediction, as I said, I'm a bit pessimistic going into these games, especially because of the record you guys have at Old Trafford. Of scoring 2 goals every time, or being 2-0 up at half time in every game you play. So I mean, yeah, I feel like it's going to be a very, very tough game. Ollie has spoken about in the press conference how the players know it's a big game for them, and obviously he knows that they're going to be up for it. I hope they follow through with that on the pitch, not just words, but we'll see. But I think it is a big game, I think, for us in terms of top 4. I think top 4 is looking pretty secure anyway. But I just think if we get a couple more wins, especially because Leicester and Chelsea are
breathing down your neck pretty much, aren't they, as well?
Yeah. They're playing. They're getting quite close, and they're starting to pick up a little bit of form. But they're playing FA Cup semi-final this weekend, I think. So we've got an opportunity to put a bit more pressure on them if we win. I think we can go 10 points clear of Leicester in second. So it's a big game in terms of points wise. So yeah, hopefully we can get the job done. I feel like we probably will just about scrape it. Very similar actually to the Brighton game where they went 1-0 up. Danny Welbeck, of course, he had to score. And then we kind of scraped it in the end and with a second half performance. And I feel, looking at all the games recently, if it follows that sort of same pattern, which I kind of predict it will, then I think it'll end 2-1 to United. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys take the lead and we have another sloppy first half again. But we always seem to turn it around in the second half. So I'm going to go with a 2-1, and it's just customary with the United game to predict a Bruno penalty, really. It's customary to do that. So I'm going to go with that as well. I'll add that into the prediction. But yeah, 2-1.
No, I'd have to second it. I'm sorry for all Burnley fans watching. I can't see us winning this at all. I think, like you say, you take the last 2 games into account. You said yourself, you're a second half team. You're poor for the first 45. At the moment, I think we're just a first half team that sort of starts on the front foot, and then we just kind of falter after that, which is why is probably why we are where we are. But yeah, I've got to go with you. 2-1. It's definitely going to be a scrappy game. I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. VAR controversy in Sunday's game. I mean, I don't think there's a game that's not got VAR controversy, to be fair, these days. But
that's true.
But I mean, even throw-ins are bloody looked at. It's ridiculous, stupid. I mean, while we're here, what's your thoughts on VAR? I mean, it's fucking shambles, isn't it? It's awful.
Yeah, I mean, I think you summed up there. Really. I think it's. I mean, I sometimes don't really know who to blame. Really, I don't know whether it's the referees, the lack of understanding with that, or whether it's just the system itself is wrong. I mean, I think it's all wrong, really. I think you could blame pretty well every bit of it. But yeah, some of the decisions this season have just beggars belief. I mean, it's just. To me, it doesn't add anything, and I feel like if you're going to bring in a bit of technology, it has to actually improve the experience of the game and improve the quality of it. And looking back before we had VAR, I can't see the improvement. I can't see the improvement that's worth the big money that they're spending on all the technology. I just don't see it. So apart from maybe getting a few decisions right every season, I can't really see the point of it at this point. I'm kind of interested. Would you like scrap it? Would you like completely get rid of it, or do you reckon it can be improved?
I think it could be improved. I think it does need to be tweaked and looked at, especially the offsides. It's all, everybody's known from day one that you give benefit to the striker, even if it's just a bit of an elbow or whatever. But we're seeing stuff now for like, if you haven't cut your fingernails the day before a game, you've a chance you're offside. It's so stupid, and I do think as well that I know a lot of people say about refs, they've obviously got their own association. That some of them are friends. So you've got one at Stockley Park trying to bail his mate out, or tell him he's right to make him look like on the pitch he's doing his job properly. But it's getting to a point now where we are seeing the flaws in the game. I think we do need that similar style to rugby, where you can sort of hear what's being said.
Yeah.
I think that'd be good. Okay, it might add a bit longer into the game, etc. But if it changes the course of it, like you say, the offside goals, the handball rule, which it is. I mean, it's silly. It's silly. I mean, we had one at Southampton. He's having his shirt. Chris Wood's having his shirt pulled, and we got nothing. I don't even think he got checked. And it was so surreal. But it's there. It's obviously here to stay. Do I miss football of the old days, where pretty much you walked away going, well, they got a raggy goal, it were offside. I mean, yeah, I do. Of course, I do. That you miss that. It's human error. It happens in games. The incident between Tarkowski and Newcastle's forward, where Newcastle could have had a penalty in our last game. For me, Tarky's obviously turning his body to try and defend it and kick it out. And I don't know, not the forward. I think it was Shelby or someone like that had put their head in, but because they put their head down, it was looked at as though, at the end of the day, he's had to put his head down for it. Plus, Tarkowski connected with the ball first. If it was at the other end of the pitch, would I be screaming like a kid at Christmas? Yes. I would have been throwing everything at the TV, knowing that we didn't get it. But no, I'm saying with you. I've got to go with it. I'm sorry, Burnley fans. It's 2-1 United for me. But we're on the road, so why not? A point, I'd happily take a point. I would snatch a point off you right now. But I don't know. I'm not confident, but it's one of those games where I go into it quite open-minded. Some games you go in and you're a bit like, oh, we've got a chance here, and then you usually get let down, especially as a Burnley fan anyway. But it's second versus 16th. It sounds like, it's David versus Goliath. It's Man United versus Burnley. It's a good one. It's on Sky, 4:00 for all those people that will want to know when it's on, where it's on, what time it's on, and it's at Old Trafford. So anyhow, thank you, Ciaran. Cheers for coming on. It's been a blast. Again, where can people find your stuff? Where can they head to?
Yeah, Red Deal Weekly on YouTube, as it says down there, and also on Twitter. But yeah, cheers for having me, mate. Really do appreciate it. It's been amazing. Cheers for having me, and hopefully we can do this in the future sometime as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Even go to a game. Even go to a game and have a beer beforehand or whatever.
Oh yeah, that'd be class. Yeah, that'd be class.
Mate, this brew cup ain't doing nothing for me. I mean, and it's branded. What am I doing? What do I think I am? Billy Big Bollocks. Bloody hell.
Hey, you got to get the branding somewhere.
Yeah, of course. If I can't get it on a T-shirt, get it on a cup, just slide it in as you have a sip. But no, thanks very much for coming on, mate, honestly. Like I say, head over to Red Devil Weekly for all the latest Man United news, transfers, etc. Also, just if you're a generic football fan, head on over, give Ciaran some love and support, like and subscribe. Do the same with us. Do the same with us while you're there. Why not? Kill two birds with one stone. like, subscribe, and follow us on all our socials at Cricket Field End or The Cricket Field End on Instagram and Facebook. Again, thanks, Ciaran, for coming on, and good luck to, obviously, for the rest of the season, apart from Sunday.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.